What's up, Ice Nation? Today I'm going to show you how to defeat Giovanni. Now, he's one of the harder of the Rocket leaders. I mean, he is the hardest since he's the boss. A lot of people struggle with him, so I'm going to go over Pokemon that he has, that he uses. I'm going to give you some counters to defeat them. I'll give you some tips, and then we will do a battle together. Unlike the leaders, Giovanni's second Pokemon is the only Pokemon that can change. His first and his third Pokemon are always the same. And then also, unlike the leaders, you catch his last Pokemon, and that is always going to be a legendary. It's not a normal Pokemon. And so if you're having trouble with Giovanni, you can always back out and then refight. You will not lose your Super Rocket Radar, so you don't have to worry about that. Giovanni's first Pokemon is a Persian, and a lot of people struggle with Persian because he's hard. And so Persian is weak to fighting, and so I would recommend using a strong fighting type. For fighting types, you can use a Lucario, a Buzzwole, you could use a Galarian Zapdos, you can use a Machop, you can use a Hariyama, or if you're having some issues, Tyranitar. He works really well. A lot of people have some success with that, so you could even try that. For Giovanni's second Pokemon, it's going to be a Nidoqueen, a Steelix, or a Rhyperior. For Nidoqueen, you can pretty much use any of the counters. It really just depends on what moves it has, so you'll have to play around with it. But for water types, you can use a Kyogre or an Empoleon. For ground types, you can use a Groudon, you could use an incarnate form Landorus, or you can use an Excadrill, or even a Rhyperior. Rhyperior is really good because he can get the move Surf, and he's a ground type, so you can kind of double dip with both types. And then for psychic types, you can use like a Mewtwo, you could use a Jirachi, any form of the Hoopas, you could use an Espeon or an Alakazam. For Rhyperior, he is a ground and a rock type, and so that means he's going to be double weak to grass and water. Since he's double weak to grass and water, I would recommend using one of those two. For water types, you can use a Kyogre, a Swampert, a Gyarados, you could even use a Samurott, a Feraligatr, pretty much anything water you'll have a lot of success with. For Steelix, it is a steel and a ground type, and so that means it's going to be weak to fighting, fire, ground, and water. Now Steelix, he's pretty tanky and a lot of people struggle with him, so you're going to have to find out what works best for you. For his counters, it's really just going to depend on what fast move he gets versus what Pokemon that you're going to try to use, and there's really no way of knowing that until you get into the battle. So for fire types, you can use like a Heatran. He works really good because he's fire and steel resists a lot of everything. You could use a Reshiram or a Galarian Darmanitan. For ground, you can use a Groudon, Excadrill, or you can use an incarnate form Landorus. For water, you can use a Kyogre, a Blastoise, or a Swampert. Giovanni's third Pokemon is Mewtwo, and that is a psychic type, and so that means it's going to be weak to Bug, Dark, and Ghost. Now, I would recommend going with a Dark type because Ghost, Psychic hurts Ghost, and so any type of Ghost that you pick, you're just going to get obliterated since Mewtwo is so strong. And so for the Dark types, you can use things like a Guzzlord, a Yveltal, a Tyranitar, you could use a Hydreigon, you could even use a Zarude. Zarude, he's a grass and a dark type. A lot of people have a lot of success with him. Or lastly, you can use Darkrai. I like Darkrai, he's pretty good. I have a lot of success with him. Now going into the battle with Giovanni, I would recommend bringing a fighting, a ground, and a dark type. The fighting will be for the Persian, which is his first Pokemon. The ground will give you good coverage since all three of the options that he could have for his second Pokemon are weak to ground. Now the Rhyperior is double weak to grass and water. So if you get into the battle with him and you can't beat him with a ground type, you can always switch your ground type out for a grass or water. And then the Mewtwo, your best bet for him is going to be the dark type. Since we have a lot of strong dark type Pokemon, I would recommend going with a dark type. We got a Giovanni. We're going to beat him here, and then I'm going to go with a Machamp. And then for my fighting type, for my dark type, I'm going to use a Darkrai. And then I'm going to use a Garchomp for a ground type. I'm going to go with ground type and just see how it goes. And now my Machamp is in the second slot. And the reason why I'm doing this is because anytime you switch a Pokemon or you shield, it will stall the leader. And so you can attack them and they can't. And since Giovanni is really hard to beat for some people, this is going to give us a big advantage when we're trying to defeat him, and we need every advantage that we can get. And so let's start the battle here. And we got our Persian. I went with a Shadow Machamp because he's the best one I have, and Persian is one of the ones that are really hard for me, and so I chose to use my Shadow Machamp. Oh, we got Rhyperior. Fighting's good against him. So is Water. I'm not gonna take and do this because he's gonna shield it. There's no use in doing that. Oh, we got some good hits in. We'll use a Garchomp here. We might be able to take him out. Maybe, we'll see. And we burned up both of his shields, so we're going to hit this. Oh yeah, that's nice. We got him. And Mewtwo. Oh my goodness, this thing looks sweet. We're going to take and use Outrage because it is harder hitting than our ground type move, so it's going to give us some more damage. It's not really type effective, but it does 110 damage versus like 90 damage, and so it will help us. And Darkrai. And Giovanni is down. Completed some research. We win. And what do we get? Please be good. No. Oh, 920. That ain't too bad. I'll take a screenshot of that. It's 82, 84, somewhere around there, low 80s. It's not the best, but it's still Shadow Mewtwo, and so it's going to be good regardless. We don't want to purify him, though. Come on. There we go. There we go. First throw. Mewtwo's in the bag. Okay. And we'll check its IVs. Yeah, it's a 2-star. That's low 80s for sure. It's not that great, but it's Mewtwo. It's Shadow. We're good. And then there we go. We beat Giovanni and we saved the Shadow Mewtwo. So please remember, once you catch your Shadow Mewtwo, do not purify him, because he is the best Pokemon to have in the game. Well, one, Mewtwo in his normal form is already super, super strong. Like, it's the best in the game, period. But the Shadow version of it, it makes him just incredibly strong. And so even if he's has terrible IVs and he's not that great, still use him and power him up, because he's good and he will serve you a lot of damage when you're trying to go up against other Pokemon. So let me know in the comments below how good your Shadow Mewtwo was, and hit the like button if you found any of these helpful. I hope you have a good day, and we will see you in the next one. Stay frosty.